Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Classtime live stream. I'm Brooke, and I'm here with Maria. Hey, Maria.
Hello. How are you,
So,
Brooke?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
So, we're gearing up to attend the Spring Q this week. We are so excited, and we have another awesome guest here. His name is Fabian Hofmann, and he is going to be speaking at Q and talking about all things gamification. And he's here today to give us a little overview of his session. So, let's go ahead and welcome Educator Fabian Hofmann.
Hi, how's it
Hello.
going?
Welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is exciting.
Of
Of
course.
course. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So, just to start, Fabian, here we have our first question.
Mhm.
We know, sorry. Can we start off by just sharing with everyone why you decided to be an educator and why you decided to incorporate gamification in your classroom?
Mhm. So that's a long story, but I'm gonna give you the short version. I never wanted to be a teacher. Like when I went to college, I studied English and history because I wanted to get into translating and stuff like that. So work maybe in publishing, or that was like
Mhm.
more the route that I wanted to take. And then through like various experiences that I had, like I started tutoring students, and I was very into magic, close-up magic, and so I was performing, and I was like a lecture, and a younger kid asked me about a move like with cards, and I was like, that's actually like that's kind of cool. Like in a few years, he won't remember my name, but he will remember that there was this dude from with a thick German accent that showed me like this really cool card move, and that kind of like resonated with me. That
Mhm.
I would have like some kind of influence on somebody else in a positive way. And then I thought about like all the teachers that I had, and like good or bad, it really doesn't matter. You remember like a lot of your
Mhm.
teachers, right? And so I was like more and more convinced that teaching might be the way to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then now let's jump on over to your session at Q. Can you give everyone a little overview about what you're going to be discussing?
Yeah, so I am hosting a session that's called Jedi in the Classroom, and I'm doing that together with Mrs. Jamie Halsey. We have a podcast with a friend of mine as well, and we created a series of an introduction to gamification that can be found on YouTube, and we decided to just go at it, create a session for a Q about gamification and how to start and what questions that people might have, what gamification is, what it isn't, and how to get started essentially. So it's kind of like builds on our YouTube series that we created, which were like 9 episodes in which we tackle like a big chunk of how to get started.
Awesome. And still in the gamification topics, we know you incorporate gamification in your classroom in some
Mhm,
pretty unique ways.
mhm.
Can you talk about your approach with some examples?
So gamification, there's a lot of discussion between educators what gamification is and what it isn't. And one of the things that sets gamification apart from game-based learning is that you are using side quests, skill battles, lots of themes. You're creating like an immersive environment in your classroom. Which, if you look at game-based learning, which is great and is very useful in gamification, but it's a little bit different because game-based learning is you're using games to teach or to review, and gamification is you're taking aspects from games and you're applying them in real world scenarios where there are no games, but you're making them kind of into a game. This is why we have Starbucks stars. You can
Mhm.
earn stars. There are star ratings at like Amazon or on iTunes. All of that is gamification because we're striving to achieve something. And so this trend kind of entered education a few years ago, where you take these aspects and put them into your classroom. And so side quests and guild battles are just two examples where I'm taking this idea of when you play a role-playing game, which is an open world role-playing game. You walk around, you have your main quest, which is like, let's say, Zelda defeating Ganon. But along the way, you are doing small little things, and those are called side quests that have nothing to do with the story, but they push the story along. You get more powers, you get more money, you get whatever you need in the game. And it's very similar. The way I'm doing it in my class is that students don't have to do it. Just like in the game, you don't have to do a side quest. But if you do it, you get more points. You get access to item cards. You get access to goodies that you otherwise would not get. You earn more experience points in the class if you do side quests. And so it's a nice little cherry on top. And this is what sets it apart, because students are going to do work that they otherwise would never have touched. They're going to be enticed to do things and to take a risk in a very low risk environment. So if I ask them to write a poem in class, they would be like, I don't know how to write a poem. I don't want to do this. Now, if I do a side quest and I say, write a poem about what we're currently doing, I'm not going to tell you what type of poem. I'm not going to tell you like what you have to write it about. All it is, it's about our topic, and you do you. Then all of a sudden, students feel like, if I fail at this, the worst that could happen is I don't get all my points, but there is no bad grade. Nobody other than the teacher is going to see it. So it's very low risk for students. And that's why there's a lot of buy-in for that. And then guild battles is essentially just a quiz. All I'm doing is I'm using places like Gimkit, or I'm using a board game like Greedy Granny, which is hilarious. And all I do is I ask students questions, they answer, and then they get to make a move in the Greedy Granny game, or they getting like money in Gimkit. But all it is really is students in teams competing with each other who can answer the most questions. And all they're doing is literally they're just reviewing content that we learned. But at the end, I cannot tell you how many times I heard, can we do this again tomorrow? Can we do this again tomorrow? And not once before I started gamification did I have any students saying, can I take this quiz again? Because it's boring, right? But as soon as you enter like in some kind of competition with other teams, all of a sudden there is like a reason why you're doing it. And that's why this is so powerful.
Amazing. And then you talked a little bit about it in the beginning of your answer, but what do educators often get wrong about gamification? What is gamification not?
So a lot of the criticism that you hear about gamification is, oh, you're just playing games. You're just doing this. It's not really serious. They're not going to learn anything. But it's exactly the opposite, because students have a really high buy-in in the game. Once they decide to be a part of this game, games are always voluntary, right? So if they don't want to play the game, they're still learning in my class. I'm still covering Rome. I'm still covering the Middle Ages, like all of that stuff. But if they buy into the whole environment of this, they're going to be more engaged. They're going to have more fun. They're going to show up in my classroom wanting to know, hey, what are we doing today? Like, what game are we playing? Because it's intrinsically motivating. It's not about grades at all. It's all about like, how can I, as a student, pour myself into this classroom and doing things that I've never done before. Because gamification is relatively new, right? Not a lot of teachers are actually doing it. And so what happens is, though, that people that criticize gamification, they think that it's game-based learning, which is like the classic Jeopardy board that you spend like hours preparing, and then students play it. And then halfway through, there's like one person or one team that is dominating the board. And then students are like, well, I'm not going to play anymore because this person is going to win. And so there's a lot of students that check out. This is why I kind of stepped away from Kahoot a few years ago, because too many people were using it. And some students were just clicking random buttons. But so it's still, I love Kahoot. I've used it so many years, and I still use it every once in a while. But if you just use games for the game's sake, then you're not going to get as much buy-in as with gamification in itself. So they're very connected, but they're also very different.
Awesome. Well, I think those were all the questions we had for you today. So thank you so much, Fabian, for just like joining us and answering to all the questions. For all of you watching, if you're watching this now or before Q, we're very excited to be attending Q, reminding everyone that it will be on booth 201. So stop by and check out and hang out with us. We'll be having some pretty fun giveaways as well. We're talking about gamification. We'll be demoing some of our collaborative challenges. And if you are interested in trying our collaborative challenges, we left a link in the description here. You can click, you can get 4 months of Classtime Premium for free, and then you can explore all the types of gamification and collaborative challenge that we have in our platform, and I'm sure you're gonna love it. So before we wrap this up, Brooke, we're gonna talk a little bit about the social highlights.
Yes, so let me quickly share our social highlight of the week. So last Friday, we spotlighted educator Melissa, and she talked about ways that she recharges her batteries towards the end of the school year. So we have like 3 more months in the school year, and it's easy to lose some motivation. And we have some educators chatting about ways that they recharge their batteries. So if you have a Twitter account, definitely follow us there and get involved in the conversation. And we can also spotlight you in a Follow Friday in the future.
Yes. Okay, and talking about Q one last time, just to remind everyone that Fabian Hofmann session will be on March 18th at 10:05 a.m. Correct, Fabian?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, and it's called Jedi in the Classroom. So
Jedi in the Classroom. So be sure if you are attending Q to check it out. It's going to be amazing. And Brooke, we have the last
and
one.
Also make sure to subscribe to our channel. We have more amazing guests like Fabian joining us in the future, and you won't want to miss out, and turn on our post notifications. And then you can also click the link in our bio to follow us on Twitter. And we also have Fabian's Twitter in our description box below as well.
Okay, thank you guys. Just changing the little windows.
Thank you again for joining us, Fabian.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
See you
And
next
see you.
time.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.